First benefit of the interreligious movement is it provides a way for these communities that now live side by side with each other to get to know each other, to talk with each other, and to deal with each other in a civil way. Chicago in 1893, at that first parliament, the predominant religions here were Catholic, Protestant, and Jew. And today, 1 out of every 7 persons in metropolitan Chicago is of another religion than Christian or Jewish and from somewhere else in the world. And this is now the case in London, it's the case in Bangkok, in Tokyo, in every major city. A number of years ago, in talking with somebody about the environmental crisis, this was a secular person who for 20 years had been working to alert the world to the environmental crisis that we're now facing. And he said to me, you know, all the doomsday scenarios, all the crunching of the numbers and the scientific data, trying to convince people that global warming was going to have an enormous impact, he said that didn't convince many people, that the strictly scientific scenario often paralyzed people or overwhelmed them. So this is a secular person who said to me, unless we recover a sense of the sacredness of the earth and of our obligation to take care of it, we are never going to find the political will to address the challenge before us. Religious and spiritual communities often are a nice bridge between the grassroots and international dynamics. In many places in Africa, attempts to aid, to help lift people out of poverty are not going to happen unless it's done through grassroots religious communities. 300 Sikhs from around the world flew to the parliament in Barcelona, and as a part of that they set up a huge tent gurdwara. Their gurdwara is the place where they do their worship and practice, and they provided a langar, which is their sacred blessed vegetarian meal, for everybody at the parliament. And in the opening days of a parliament, the first 36 hours of the event, everybody behind the scenes is crazy with all kinds of, crises and getting the thing off the ground. So after about 36 hours, I could take a breath, and I asked, well, how's it going at the Gurdwara? These Sikhs flew in, they spent all this money and all this time and energy to provide langar for people. Is anybody going? And as you know, not only were 9,000 people going for lunch every day to the Gurdwara, but they were going for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that people at the convention center were going down to the Gurdwara. And people from Barcelona, not even a part of the parliament, were coming for langar. I took my wife and 2 young boys to langar one day at noon, and you're sitting on the floor in this big room in the tent with literally thousands of people from around the world. There were 2 Spanish nuns in full habit sitting on the right side of us, and some Thai Buddhist monks in their saffron robes on the other side, and across from us was a delegation from the Middle East, all sharing this meal together. And I think anybody who went to the parliament in Barcelona would say that that act of generosity by the Sikhs and the way in which we all shared in it from around the world was the heartbeat of that event. There's another interesting little story about that, about the impact of that. One of the Sikhs who flew in was in charge of procurement. It was his job every day to go out and buy large quantities of vegetables and flour for the chapatis, and he said that he went to a particular Spanish grocer who the first day he came, buying out all of his vegetables, was kind of suspicious of this man with a beard and a turban and all of that. But he went back every day. They began to develop a friendship. The grocer, the vegetable market guy, began to hear about what was happening and started donating all of the vegetables every day. And then after the event, this Sikh man and his wife, you know, they had spent all their time preparing longar, wanted to take a day and tour Barcelona and get to see the city. So they hailed a cab and said, look, we'd like to hire you for the whole day and have you take us around to the wonderful sights in Barcelona. And the taxi driver said, you know, I'm willing to do that for you on one condition. And the Sikh gentleman asked, what's that? And he said that I do it for free. Because he says, we've learned what the Sikhs have done for Barcelona, what you provided for us, and it would be an honor for me to take you around the city for free. So you know when something penetrates down to the cab drivers, it's had a big impact. It's very important at the Parliament of the World's Religions that we don't minimize the differences between religious traditions. I don't think all religions are the same. I think they may share core values, but I think each religion is very distinct and unique, and we want to respect that. On the other hand, what does face all the religious communities and people who aren't religious are the challenges facing the human community. People may not be explicitly religious, but they can have their own convictions about the kind of world we want. And certainly people who identify with a religious or spiritual tradition can find common cause. Whether we're religious or not, we have to join forces.